very good night to you. You're welcome to the programme once again. On a night when we concentrate on Munster Championship Hurling and the clash at Pairc today of Cork and Limerick.
Noel Leonard under it straight away for Limerick. Here's Liam O'Donoghue. Firing it forward towards Shane Fitzgibbon. Getting inside, he got the opening 2 points for Limerick. Can he get another? It comes off Ger Cunningham's diving body and goes over the bar when the goal was there for the taking.
Yes, and also on the programme tonight we'll have a special report on Dublin's visit to Wexford Park this afternoon for their Leinster Football Championship quarter-final clash. Well, that comes up a little bit later on in the programme. And we also are joined in our Galway studios by Enda Colleran. Enda was at today's match between Galway and Roscommon in the Connacht Football Championship, their semi-final there. Well, here in studio we're joined by Eamon Cregan, who will be assessing today's game between Cork and Limerick. And of course he'll also be picking a little bit later on for us his man of the match selection. But now, before in fact we go to Pairc for today's game between Cork and Limerick, I want to refer back to last week's programme. And remember, last week we showed you the match between Clare and Tipperary. Now, there was a penalty incident during that match about which we've got what I can only describe as a stack of letters. Now, you might remember last week on the programme, Dermot Healy, the Offaly manager, pointed out an incident in which Enda O'Colleran of Clare burst through for a goal, but he was called back by the referee, who awarded a penalty. Well, Dermot in fact claimed that the ref should have allowed the advantage and given the goal, but a lot of viewers didn't see it that way, including Mary Costello from Ballingarry, County Limerick, who wrote to us and says, "In my opinion, the Clare player took 9 steps with the ball before he hopped it, and about 6 more before he put the ball into the net, and he was rewarded with a penalty. Well, I know they only scored a point, but without that point, Tipperary would have been the winners." Well, there you've seen it for yourselves, and I put it straight over to Eamon Cregan. Eamon, what about it then? Should Tipperary have been the winners, in fact?
Well, last Sunday I would have thought the goal should have been allowed, but with the advent of slow motion, then I had to change my opinion. In actual fact, we see it coming up here. Enda gets the ball, and he bursts through the Tipperary defence. Now he's coming up to Pat Fox, and watch this closely. Pat Fox misses him, but he actually catches him by the jersey. Now that's free number 1. Enda does run the 7 or 8, 9 steps as it is, but the Tipperary fullback is now coming up to him, and he has his arm around him. That's foul number 3. Enda continues on and scores the goal. Now, as I said, Mary is correct. Enda overran with the ball, but there were 2 frees prior to that, so I think John Moore was correct in giving a free.
Anyway, Eamon, I don't suppose we'd ever get you to say that Tipperary should have won the match on the day, regardless. But however, thank you all very much indeed for your letters, all of you who wrote in, and also to Mary Costello. But I'm sure that Mary had a special interest in our feature match tonight because, of course, this afternoon Limerick travelled to Cork for their Munster Championship match with a score to settle after last year's defeat by Cork, of course, in Limerick. Well, this now surely today was the game between the 2 best sides in the country because it put together the All-Ireland champions Cork against the National League winners Limerick. Your commentator at Pairc today was Ger Canning.
Questionably the biggest attendance at a championship match this summer, over 30,000 here at Pairc for the tie many believe will settle this year's All-Ireland. And the defending champions Cork with 12 of last year's victorious side and a number of key switches. Johnny Crowley moves to full-back in the absence of Donal O'Grady, while Pat Horgan takes over at centre-half. John Blake has won back the number 4 shirt from another injury victim, John Hodgins. And in attack, Dennis Walsh replaces Shawnee Leary, who it appears will not be seen in the Cork colours this year. Meanwhile, league champions Limerick, with a win against Waterford in Munster already under their belts, are glad to welcome back Jimmy Carroll to midfield, where his partner today is Ray Sampson. He switches from wing forward in a move which sees Shane Fitzgibbon play on the left wing, with Pat McCarthy now at top of the left. The only possible surprise has been the demotion of out-of-form Pa Foley and the selection of Brian Carroll at left half. For goalkeeper Tommy Quaid, it's a gilt-edged opportunity to make amends for last year's lapses, when a couple of errors, one of them with the aid of Leonard Enright, set Cork on their way for a 25th All-Ireland success. While at the other end, Ger Cunningham, the county's regular netminder and all-star, captains Cork for the first time in the championship. It's a match this also which provides us with a chance to study at close quarter 2 of the great forwards in modern hurling. Joe McKenna here, who was badly injured in last year's match and missed the league campaign, and Jimmy Barry Murphy, who today plays on the corner of the square, where the selectors hope he'll profit by any openings created by Kevin Hennessy. Referee John Moore from Waterford, starting one of the year's top sporting occasions. The supporters know it, and the players must sense it down there. John Fenton up towards Jimmy Barry Murphy, who this afternoon has been marshalled by Pat Herbert, who's fit to play. Tim Crowley challenged immediately here by Mossy Carroll, and that'll be a Cork sideline ball. The afternoon is overcast but humid as John Fenton here lines up this sideline cut. Beautiful ball in towards Kevin Hennessy. Jimmy Barry putting up the hand, and that'll be a puck out to Limerick. Dermot McCurtain going to meet that with Pat Hartnett. A little indecision there in the Cork camp. Danny Fitzgerald here trying to open the scoring for Limerick. This is Shane Fitzgibbon, the number 12, awkward angle. There's the opening score, however. Shane Fitzgibbon gets the opening point. There's a minute and a half gone. Pat Hartnett under it with Jimmy Carroll, and Carroll has won one or two of those balls that have come his way so far. Pat Horgan here can strike them with the right or with the left. Paddy Kelly, here's John Blake, helped by Pat Horgan. Now Dennis Walsh and Brian Carroll. The game still to really settle down. Tim Crowley has been very involved so far at centre forward. John Fenton here likes to go forward and join the attack, looking for an equalising point, but that's inches to the left. The great-hearted Middleton man moving back into the middle of the field. Tommy Quaid here. A very, very slight breeze favouring Limerick in the first half, but it's a very slight breeze. Pat Hartnett transferring it in towards Dennis Walsh. Lovely turn. Gets it as far as Jimmy Barry. Rounding Pat Herbert. There's the shot. Well stopped by Tommy Quaid, who had time to watch it. Pat Herbert's down injured. Play continues. Here's Jimmy Carroll. Broken up, however. Pat Horgan. Game starting at a frantic pace. You can see Pat Herbert there in the background, still lying down injured as that ball is cleared out by Liam O'Donoghue towards Shane Fitzgibbon. That's Dennis Mulcahy there, over there with Shane Fitzgibbon. And the left wing forward drives it in towards Joe McKenna. A lot expected from McKenna and Pat McCarthy up front for Limerick today. We'll see how the match settles down. Dennis Mulcahy hooked, and you can already sense the determination from the Limerick men. A little bit too strong for referee John Moore's liking there. And there's going to be quite a tussle between Johnny Crowley and Joe McKenna. Tom Cashman ready to take the free out for Cork from his own 20-metre line. And Mike Lonergan has already replaced Pat Herbert after just 5 minutes, following a rather strong challenge. Joe McKenna here. Limerick still leading by a point, remember. Johnny Crowley living dangerously there. This is John Blake. Tony O'Sullivan here, who seems to have moved from right wing to left wing. Dermot McCurtain. Nicely taken by Mossy Carroll. Good delivery down towards Ollie O'Connor. Takes it nicely and neatly with that left hand. There's a good shot from O'Connor. Oh, it can only have been a couple of inches wide of that left hand post. Brian Carroll batting that one down. There's Jimmy Carroll. Again down towards Pat McCarthy's wing. It'll be interesting to see how Pat McCarthy fits in at left corner forward. During the winter, he was such a success at full forward, remember. This is Ray Sampson, only 21-year-old. One of the new finds this season. A shot and a point from Shane Fitzgibbon. His second point of the match, and there are 6.5 minutes gone. Mossy Carroll, Limerick making their usual very strong start in Championship hurling. A little bit too strong there as Mossy Carroll challenged Pat Horgan. And the applause from the Cork crowd as Pat Horgan stays on despite the injury. That's what you expect from a man in the heat of championship battle. So it's John Fenton. 65 metres out, and a point from John Fenton. Cork's first goal comes after 9 minutes. Limerick still leading by 2 points to 1. So the flags now fly up on the hill behind the goal. Lovely jump by Pat Hartnett. Tim Crowley. And he was being fouled that time by Brian Carroll, and the referee awards the free into Cork as Brian Carroll calls for a replacement Hurley. So Cork now beginning to take a bit of a grip on the centre of the field. John Fenton looking here from the 45 metre line for an equalising score, and he gets it. So Cork's 2 points coming from John Fenton, just like Limerick's 2 have come from the one man, Shane Fitzgibbon. Limerick, of course, today bidding to hold a run of what would be 3 failures in Munster Championship semi-finals to Cork. So far it's real level pegging. That's kept in by Tomas Mulcahy for Tim Crowley. Here's Jimmy Barry Murphy. Nice delivery for Hartnett, and the point! That was a lovely run by Pat Hartnett, latching onto the delivery from Jimmy Barry Murphy, and Cork go in front. First time in the match. So now Cork have come from being 2 points down to taking the lead with just a quarter of an hour gone. That'll be a free to Limerick. And the referee having a quick word out of picture with Tim Crowley. Liam O'Donoghue, it looks, is the player on the ground. It is. But he's fit to take his position once again at right half back. Mossy Carroll here, recently married, taking the free. And they're level again. Mossy Carroll, the scorer, and it's 3 points for Limerick, 3 points for Cork. And plenty to enthuse about for the very large crowd present. Ray Sampson and John Fenton, the support coming in from Dennis Walsh. A big opportunity for him today to really establish himself on the Cork attack. Dennis Walsh, despite the foul, getting in the shot towards Kevin Hennessy. Leonard Enright batting it down, but only as far as Cork forward Jimmy Barry Murphy. Michael Lonergan is in there as well, the sub. Brian Carroll breaking it up to Liam O'Donoghue. Pat Horgan under it, all alone, unmarked. Quickly being swallowed up by Limerick players, but look at the way he defies their challenge. Opening it out towards Kevin Hennessy, who's roamed out to the right corner. Jimmy Barry has gone in full forward. Liam O'Donoghue. Here's Tim Crowley. Hand passing it for Tony O'Sullivan. In towards Tomas Mulcahy. And Quaid was out quickly. It's not out of danger, however. Kevin Hennessy, nice, neat turn. But a poor finish. Kevin Hennessy's first championship match this as a full forward. Usually plays at top of the left. John Blake touched that one down, the left corner back, but only as far as Danny Fitzgerald for Limerick. Trying to create something in there, but John Blake again covering the space. So a fresh air puck that from John Fenton. Ray Sampson down tantalisingly in towards the goal. Out by Ger Cunningham. And Tom Cashman now, who's really finding his feet at right half back. Paddy Kelly maintaining the pressure. Ger Cunningham having time to hold it and clear the danger. Still 3 points apiece, remember, after 17.5 minutes. Ray Sampson. Tim Crowley has been everywhere for Cork in the half-forward line, roaming right and left. So just outside the Cork 65-metre line, John Fenton to take the sideline cut. Once again, cutting it beautifully. Pat Hartnett moves forward every time he takes one of those. That's knocked out, however, by Leonard Enright. Kept in play by Dennis Walsh, the number 10. From virtually on the sideline, Dennis Walsh almost putting it over the bar. There can only have been a few centimetres between that and a score. Well, he touched it down, but gave himself some work to do then. And look at the eagerness in Pat Hartnett's run here. The challenge with Brian Carroll, who's everywhere for Limerick. Tony O'Sullivan. Really opening up the play. Jimmy Barry Murphy bringing Mike Lonergan this way and that. And then the shot goes off the post, comes back into the grateful arms of Leonard Enright. Mossy Carroll there to complete the clearance. So near for Jimmy Barry that time. John Crowley hasn't been really tested as a full-back so far. Joe McKenna really has had very little of the play in the opening 20 minutes. Sideline ball will be to Limerick. Little altercation there. Liam O'Donoghue's sideline cut. Pat Hartnett, he started to settle, he started to play, plus the Cork half backline have been much sharper, and the result has been that the supply of the ball to the Limerick forwards almost non-existent. Paddy Kelly, and there was a little push by Paddy Kelly. The referee decides by Dermot McCurtain. Paddy doesn't quite agree. The free will be to Cork, however. But certainly the Cork half-back line have settled down much more since the opening 5 minutes. Pat Horgan driving it towards Jimmy Barry Murphy, getting it into the left hand, making his way for goal, and the referee's whistle has gone, and it's a penalty. It happens so often in Championship hurling, receiving the congratulations of Kevin Hennessy as Dennis Walsh throws the ball back to the referee. But Jimmy Barry Murphy, once he gets the ball in the hand, he makes it into the parallelogram, and that usually spells danger for the opposition. So, lining up the goal, you've got Paulie Fitzmaurice, Tommy Quaid and Leonard Enright. John Fenton, poised, composing himself, 23 minutes gone. The sides are level, 3 points apiece. Here it comes, goal! The breakthrough has come at last for Cork. The opening goal, a penalty by John Fenton. That's a goal and 2 points he's scored so far. It was a perfectly taken penalty. The defence had no chance. And the Cork supporters enjoying their afternoon. Tom Cashman now seems to have the beating of Shane Fitzgibbon, but that one runs loose to Jimmy Carroll. And a point for Limerick. They've been out of things for a long, long part of this first half, but Jimmy Carroll gets his name on the score sheet. That's helped on by Tomas Mulcahy to Jimmy Barry Murphy. Tim Crowley, who's pressing forward on Leonard Enright. Good full-back play, but he's hooked that time. Comes out towards Jimmy Barry again. And coming thundering out, the left half-back, Brian Carroll, scooping it on towards the Limerick forward line. A little push that time by one of the Cork defenders. That'll be a free into Limerick. And at this stage in the match, Paddy Kelly is perfectly content to take the point. That's his first score. 7 minutes to go to half-time. Touched on by Tony O'Sullivan towards Jimmy Barry Murphy. The Cork forward line looking a little more dangerous so far. Tim Crowley. Michael Lonergan is in there with Tim Crowley. Tony O'Sullivan leaving it for Pat Hartnett. And the point from Pat Hartnett. His second score. And again we repeat that all the scores so far for Cork have come from the two centre field men, the two Middleton lads. Here's Pat Hartnett again. He's covering acres of ground, really, giving Jimmy Carroll a very testing afternoon. Kevin Hennessy with Paulie Fitzmaurice and Brian Carroll battling his way out of defence, but letting the ball behind him. Appealing for a free. The referee says play on, and Dennis Walsh does so, and that's a point for Cork. That's a goal and 6 points now for Cork. 5 points for Limerick. The latest point there scored by Dennis Walsh. Tommy Quaid with the puck out as the sun comes streaming through the clouds, but it's shining brightest of all for Cork so far. The sun indeed in the eyes of the Cork defenders just now. Ollie O'Connor trying to get something going. We've seen very little of Joe McKenna or Pat McCarthy. There's the shot. It comes off the post. Joe McKenna's under it. Quiet for so long, then gets in the shot, but it's easily stopped by Ger Cunningham. And Tom Cashman completes the clearance. Mossy Carroll getting it back towards Leonard Enright. That's Brian Carroll. Ray Sampson down for the forwards again. Joe McKenna trying to keep it in play, but not succeeding. 3 minutes before the half-time whistle. Cork looking the sharper. Shane Fitzgibbon trying to pop back into Cork's lead, and the referee will have a word with Danny Fitzgerald, who pulled across Dermot McCurtain that time. Well, he's not taking any action. Pat Horgan taking the free, and considering the amount of possession Cork have had in this first half, there really should be a bit more in front. Maybe they'll score here. They do, and it's Jimmy Barry with the boot. Jimmy Barry Murphy delighting the Cork supporters. Limerick are rocked yet again with 2.5 minutes to go to half-time. And it all came from that long ball from way out the field. Jimmy Barry Murphy again stole inside the defence, and without the hurley this time, he used the boot to put it in behind Tommy Quaid. So it's Cork 2 goals and 6 points, Limerick 5 points. Paddy Kelly trying to do something about that before half-time. Looking for a goal, but stopped by Ger Cunningham. Then he misses it, and it's gone out over the end line despite the challenge. A puck out for Cork and a bit of a let-off. Jimmy Carroll. Now a lot more will be expected from him in the second half. Pat McCarthy. He's been so quiet so far. Ollie O'Connor waited for that to come to him. Scooped it as far as Pat McCarthy. They need scores badly now. Shane Fitzgibbon's inside there. Chance of a shot. Stopped, however, by Dennis Mulcahy. Out as far as Ray Sampson for Limerick. There's the shot from Sampson, and there's the point. 2 goals between them. 2 6-6 points. The point by Ray Sampson. So into injury time in the first half, and John Fenton here to take the sideline cut for Cork. Goes only as far as Ray Sampson for Limerick, as referee John Moore from Dungarvan in County Waterford blows the end of a half that started with Limerick dominant for the first 5 minutes, then rocked by a half an hour of pressure, really. Stemmed from midfield, where Pat Hartnett and John Fenton did some terrific work, and 2 goals, one of them created by Jimmy Barry. That was a penalty. The other he scored himself, and so Cork lead at half-time by 2 goals and 6 points to Limerick's 6 points. Hope you enjoy the first half, and we'll be back with the action of the second half right after this break.
Stop paying high grocery prices. Shop Red Label. Pound after pound, Red Labels are up to 25% cheaper. Red Label quality products available at independent shops and supermarkets.
Taste the traditional goodness of Mitchelstown cheese in Galty singles. If you don't see Mitchelstown on the pack, it's not from the home of good cheese.
To give your fields those extra yields, here's one you can rely on. Go straight for net, the rest forget. Your stock will soon be thriving. Net application is the name of the game. Intensification will be your game. Spread the net, you won't regret. Great silage you'll be storing. Go straight for net, rich crops you'll get. Net nitrate, net urea.
Go straight for net, best in the land.
Will you try this for me, Mr. Conway?
Sure.
Say, that's wonderful. What is it? Chico, a new sherry mixed with ice and tonic.
The sherry that you mix. It's a terrible idea.
But you'll love the drink. Tico, try it with your favorite mixer.
Hey, Mum, are you throwing away my trainers? They're almost new.
Well, they smell old. I'm going to wear them on the windowsill for a month. Or we're going to start using super tough odor eaters.
Super Tough Odor Eaters insoles for trainers contain millions of particles of activated charcoal to absorb perspiration and destroy foot and trainer odor.
Thanks, Mum. My trainers don't smell like trainers anymore.
Super Tough Odor Eaters for trainers and regular odor eaters for ordinary shoes.
Hotpoint made the fridge that kept the food fresh, that went into the oven, that made the meal, that spilt down the shirt, that was washed in the machine, that was next to the cleaner, that was in the kitchen, that had all the appliances, that have a free 5-year parts guarantee. That it's no wonder so many people say, thank you, Hotpoint.
We at Berger have made some important changes. Now new Magicoat is in the shops with a new formula, a new range of colours and attractive new tins. Magicoat is a high-gel, non-drip paint, specially formulated for easy, clean application with brush or roller. New Magicoat, a very special paint that gives you a hard-wearing, lasting finish. Magicoat from Berger, Ireland's quality paint makers. Carling Lager, the taste of good times.
Carling Black Label, light-hearted lager, so full of flavor.
Carling Black Label, light-hearted lager, so full of flavor. Carling.
Crack a free Coke with every 12 pounds of petrol, diesel or lubricants at participating stations.
Invest with the Irish Nationwide, the building society with the highest reserve ratio in the country.
You'll always remember the lighter moments when you drink Dwan's new Diet Orange.
And welcome back to the Sunday game here in Pairc in Cork, where the official attendance, by the way, is 37,231. And it's only Cork's 10th championship match here in 52 years. And by the way, they haven't been beaten in any of the previous 9. And the way this is going, they don't look they'll be beaten in the 10th either. Kevin Hennessy trying that shot, going to the left and wide. Cork still those 2 goals in front. Tommy Quaid, the goalie. Neither side making any change in personnel at half-time. But a lot now to be asked of the Limerick forward line in particular. They've got to get to grips. Tony O'Sullivan down towards Tomás Mulcahy. Paddy Fitzmaurice under it, but only succeeding in batting it away to the more eager Cork forwards. Jimmy Barry laying it over towards Tomás Mulcahy, giving him a bit of work to do. Mossy Carroll there, and it's Leonard Enright trying to dig his way out of trouble. Kevin Hennessy holding off a good challenge and a good point. He's turning into be one of the sharpest forwards around. Kevin Hennessy getting his first score of this match. Ollie O'Connor battling in the centre with Ollie O'Connor. Dermot McCurtain. Tomás Mulcahy under it. Paddy Fitzmaurice going back for Limerick and taking it on a solo run out of defence. Being fouled in the process. The sideline cut taken by Paddy Fitzmaurice. Ollie O'Connor here. Trying to get the forward division moving. John Blake under it for Cork, but leaving it behind for Danny Fitzgerald. Here's Fitzgerald, he's always dangerous, a stylish hurler. Trying to turn it across towards Pat McCarthy. Cut out, however, by Ger Cunningham, the Cork goalkeeper. Then holding off the challenge and leaving it out for John Blake, but only as far as Paddy Kelly. Here's a chance for Limerick, surely. The shot, the save. Brilliant save at the near post by Ger Cunningham. And a right little bit of argy-bargy breaking out then. Right in the small parallelogram. tempers flaring over. Joe McKenna's involved there. Pat Horgan tried to stem things down, but it all came from that marvellous run by Paddy Kelly, knifing his way through the defence. A lovely low shot, well saved by the goalkeeper, Ger Cunningham. 8 points the difference. 11 minutes of the second half gone. Limerick still with only those 8 points, or 6 points that they scored in the first half. Paulie Fitzmaurice, Pat Hartnett, who's everywhere it seems. There's a shot and there's the point. It was the marvellous discovery of last year's centenary year for Cork, and he's really turning it on today. His 3rd point of this championship semi-final. First out to meet the ball again with Jimmy Carroll. That time it goes off the Cork man. That's going to be a Limerick ball. Liam O'Donoghue cutting it from the left-hand side. Pat Horgan going back. Such an effective centre-back. Liam O'Donoghue, who won an All-Ireland medal with Limerick in 1973. And trying to keep Limerick's alive, hopes alive in 85. Kevin Hennessy, nice combination to Dennis Walsh. And it's all happening for the Cork forward line as Dennis Walsh scores his 2nd point. Cork now really on song, 12 minutes into the second half. Noel Leonard has come on for Limerick, and I'm sure he'll probably operate in the centre of the field, or will he?
Noel Leonard replaces Danny Fitzgerald for Limerick. Noel Leonard, Danny Fitzgerald.
So it's Danny Fitzgerald who's gone off. Noel Leonard under it straight away for Limerick. Here's Liam O'Donoghue. Firing it forward towards Shane Fitzgibbon. Getting inside, he got the opening 2 points for Limerick. Can he get another? It comes off Ger Cunningham's diving body and goes over the bar when the goal was there for the taking. Shane Fitzgibbon, who's done so well for Limerick, he's been one of their few vital scorers so far. He got inside the defence, but it came off Ger Cunningham's body. It went over the bar. It's a point. So Limerick's first point of the second half, and there are 19 minutes gone. So a terrific piece of goalkeeping, one of the saves of the season indeed, I'm sure, by Ger Cunningham. Pat Horgan down towards Tomás Mulcahy. Here's Liam O'Donoghue. He's battled bravely against the odds. Ollie O'Connor turning it up towards Shane Fitzgibbon again, getting it back, or trying to get it back from Pat McCarthy. Here's Tom Cashman for Cork. Down towards Kevin Hennessy, has now moved out onto the 40. Here's Hennessy again. The driving shot and the point. It's only his 2nd point of the game, but it pushes Cork's score ahead. So they're meeting Limerick now point for point. Dermot McCurtain. It's going to be a Limerick ball. Tony O'Sullivan being held off that time by Liam O'Donoghue. Jimmy Carroll getting into that, but so too did John Fenton. Up to Tony O'Sullivan again. Lovely turn, nice style. And all the fluency coming from Cork. Tom Mulcahy takes it down. Pushed ahead for Tim Crowley. Must be a goal, surely it's stopped. Amazingly stopped by Leonard Enright. Well, such is the fare here in this championship game. Dead for so long, and then it comes to life again. Jimmy Carroll in towards Pat McCarthy. Dennis Mulcahy here. Another Middleton man, and indeed there's a marvellous contribution been made by Middleton to this game. Joe McKenna finding Ray Sampson. Pat McCarthy here, they're looking for the goal this time, or are they? Well, Pat McCarthy is content with the point. That's only his first score of this game. And just behind the goal there, you can see some spectators and supporters, Cork supporters it must be said, who've encroached onto the field, and that really is very unfair indeed. Brian Carroll Knocking it down only for Dennis Walsh, the bandaged Dennis Walsh here. Brian Carroll blocked down the first one. There's the power in Brian Carroll's play, a little bit too powerful, the referee decides. And the free is into Cork as Cork introduce Johnny Buckley, number 20.
John Harper for Dennis Welsh for Cork. John Harper for Dennis Welsh.
So the round of applause for Dennis Walsh as he makes his way off. John Fenton taking this free. And another point for Cork. That's 2 goals and 13 points now to Limerick's 9 points. John Fenton, the latest scorer. Tommy Quaid's puck out. Knocked on by Noel Leonard towards Pat McCarthy. Limerick looking for a consolation goal. They've only scored 3 points in this entire second half. Paul Foley gets the better of Kevin Hennessy. Here's Paddy Kelly now driving towards the 45-metre line, looking for something. Ray Sampson's cut off by Johnny Crowley, a very vigilant Johnny Crowley, who's done well at full-back, but really hasn't been under any kind of intense pressure. Jimmy Carroll towards Pat McCarthy, a goal perhaps. It's stopped by Ger Cunningham, and it's in from Shane Fitzgibbon. Shane Fitzgibbon, who scored the opening 2 points, makes it a goal and 2 points. A satisfying afternoon for him on a very disappointing day for Limerick. And it all came from that build-up on the right. The first shot stopped by Ger Cunningham, and Shane Fitzgibbon was there to knock in the rebound. So Limerick getting themselves that consolation goal as the referee blows for full time. And so for the 3rd year in succession, Limerick have gone down in the semi-final to Cork. This particular match, a very one-sided and disappointing Munster final. Cork gave it their best shot, Limerick well below colour. And really, it all stemmed from the... and 9.
Yes, easy for Cork in the end, and I think a lot easier than many people would have expected. But one man who played a very important part in that win today for Cork was their goalkeeper, Ger Cunningham. And after the match, Ger Canning put it to him that it was a lot easier than he expected.
So we were very surprised towards the end, even the second half there. It mightn't have been as great a game as it was hoped it would be. I think after half-time, going in a couple of points ahead, once we got the first scores after half-time, it took the heart out of Limerick, I think. So, but, you know, we're not complaining, we're delighted.
And of course that Jimmy Barry goal just 2.5 minutes before half-time, that effectively killed them off as well, I thought.
Yeah, it was a great opportunist goal. Jimmy, he's always there for those goals, like, you know, and after that goal he might be back in the Cork football team.
Seems to be great spirit and I suppose method in this Cork team at the moment. They're playing with terrific confidence.
Yes, I think so. The trip to America, we went out there, we had a fortnight out there, and we trained a few games, played the 2 games, and we won them, and we've won all our challenge games up to now. And I think we trained hard, and it was a great feeling of comradeship, and it just worked on the day for us.
In fact, this was your first big competitive match since the start of '85, really, wasn't it?
That's right, and a lot of people were writing us off, and I think that spurred us on again to do well. And, you know, when you have something like that to spur you on, I think you do better on the day.
At this stage, of course, you're going to be the hottest of favourites now. Is that going to put extra pressure on you during the remainder of this Munster campaign?
Hopefully not. I think our coaches, Justin and Father O'Brien, will see to that. I don't think that we have left room for improvement today. We missed a lot of chances. We didn't play, I think, to our full potential. And I think when we come back training here for the Munster final, I think overconfidence won't be a factor.
I felt you were...
Yes, indeed, Ger Cunningham there, and of course the other man you saw in the picture was in fact Johnny Crowley. One man who had no smiles, I'm afraid, on his face today as he watched that match was Eamon Cregan. Eamon, we'd expected so much from this game, as we said, the match between the All-Ireland champions and the league winners, but at the end of the day it was a flop, and I'm afraid on the day it was Limerick who flopped.
Unfortunately, it was a very disappointing day for Limerick. I think they went down with great hopes of beating Cork, but going into Cork to play Cork in the Munster Championship is no easy task, and I think the players knew that. But at the same time, I think a lot of people felt that Limerick could and should have possibly won today, but not the way they played.
They're certainly playing well for the first 20 minutes or so of the match, but once Jimmy Barry Murphy's goal went in, the second goal for Cork, the steam just seemed to go quite simply out of Limerick, and they never came out in the second half looking like they were interested after that.
No, I think after 15 minutes, Limerick were in trouble. The Cork forwards had put a lot of pressure on the Limerick back, so therefore the clearances weren't coming down to the Limerick forwards. This was a tactic, I think, on Cork's part. But an interesting thing about the Cork team was the fact that they didn't score for the first 20 minutes. The Cork forwards didn't score, and it was the midfielders did all the scoring. If we can see here now a ball where the Cork midfielders have the ability to come forward, you know. Jimmy Barry is getting the ball, he's crossing it across the field, and who's coming in but Pat Hartnett. Now he's only 25 yards out from the goal, but there he is picking his shot and he's scoring a point for Cork. And they did this all through the game, which put tremendous pressure under Limerick. Now here is another example of it. Jimmy Barry again getting the ball, being tackled by Mick Lonergan, not able to hit it with his hurley, so he looks up, hand passes it. Now there's John Fenton coming through, and also beside him is Pat Hartnett. And this tactic put terrible pressure on the Limerick backs.
Well, there's no doubt about it that both John Fenton and Pat Hartnett definitely had the measure of Limerick's midfield pairing today of Jimmy Carroll, I should say, and Ray Sampson. Another two men for Limerick who, I'm afraid, didn't perform as expected today. Up front, Pat McCarthy and Joe McKenna. And this is, of course, an interesting one because Pat McCarthy had been moved out of that full forward spot that he did so well in during the winter to make way for Joe McKenna. But just on the day, it never worked out for them. That's true.
It didn't click at all, actually. The ball that came into Joe was a high ball, and Johnny Crowley is a very strong full-back, and he won a lot of possession. I thought Pat might make it in the corner, but unfortunately he didn't, and the tactic didn't work. But when Pat went in full forward and Joe went into the corner, Pat McCarthy got a little bit more ball and took a few shots at goal, which could have scored. I think today Limerick needed a goal just before half-time. In the second half they needed another goal, but they had 5 scoring chances which they didn't put away. Now you can't afford to do that in a Munster Championship match.
You certainly cannot indeed. Then Limerick, of course, or Cork I should say, ending up winners on the day. Now I suppose the question we must ask ourselves, how good are Cork and how far are they going to go again this year?
Well, that's an interesting thing. They won well, but for 25 minutes their forwards didn't score. Their 2 midfielders did the scoring, and that's something that Cork are going to have to work on. And the other thing, though, I like about the Cork team is their flexibility in the forwards. They can move their forwards around anywhere they like. Tomas Mulcahy can come out, Jimmy Barry can come up, Tim Crowley can go into the full forward line, and Kevin Hennessy can come out. And that's a tremendous thing to be able to happen to any team, is that every one of the forwards can play in other positions.
But their scoring wasn't up to par today, especially in the second half, mind you, because a lot of scores in the first half had come from midfield, from both Fenton and from Hartnett. And then in the second half, Cork weren't scoring that freely, something like 7 points, was it?
That's true, Michael. Cork only scored 7 points in 35 minutes of hurling in the second half. Some of those came from frees, and some came from midfield. So that's a part of their game they've got to work on. But I'm sure by the time the Munster final comes around, they'll have worked on that.
Well, now, obviously, you would have liked to seen Limerick win today for 2 reasons, for obvious reasons, number 1, and secondly, I'm sure it would have made it easier for you to pick a man of the match selection. But who did you pick in the final analysis?
My man of the match was Pat Horgan. To me, he played a very simple game. He got the ball and he cleared it very effectively to his forwards. And I'll just show 2 examples here. Liam O'Donoghue clearing a long ball down the centre. And Pat Horgan is actually standing all on his own in the centre-back position where he should be. Catches the ball, and without anybody close to him, he clears it effectively to his forwards. Now here again we see Tommy Quaid taking a puck out. And as I said, Pat played a very simple, effective game at centre-half, the way centre-halves should play. The ball hops just in front of 3 or 4 players, and Pat is there to pick up the loose ball and clear again effectively down to his forwards. And in my opinion, he was the man of the match. He had a tremendous game all through. Nothing spectacular, but very effective.
Well, a fine performance today indeed by Pat Horgan, and we say congratulations to him and we say congratulations to Cork. Before we leave this little section, Eamon, we must briefly refer to next Sunday's match because I know that's far more on your mind at the moment. A lot of people would have thought that Clare should have caught Tipperary when they had their chances last Sunday, and that it's going to be tougher for you in Thurles next week.
That's true. We had our chance. We had a great number of chances last Sunday to put Tipperary away. Unfortunately, we didn't. We now go into the Lions' Den next Sunday against tremendous odds. Tipperary won't play as badly again, but we're hopeful we'll win.
Well, with all due respects to Tipperary, I think we must wish Eamon all the best with that match next Sunday. Well, now in the curtain raiser today, incidentally, at Pairc Queeve, it took extra time to break the deadlock between Tipperary and Clare footballers. Tipperary eventually won by 3 points, and the attendance today at Pairc Queeve, incidentally, was 37,000. Well, while all this action was going on in Cork, down in Wexford, they were having their own big day. Wexford Park saw one of its biggest crowds ever for the visit of Dublin, the Leinster champions, for this afternoon's quarter-final match there. Sunday is Dubs Day in Wexford, said the Wexford people, and after their win over Dublin in the league, well, I think Wexford are all keyed up to pull a shock result today there. Well, John Saunders went to see that match.
On practically any other Sunday of the year, at this time of day, the streets of Wexford town would be almost deserted. Not so today. The Dubs are in town, and when the Dubs travel, well, they certainly travel in style. It's generally estimated now that between 7,000 and 10,000 of them will make the 80-mile trek down the southeast coast to be here for this match today. And you certainly go far to find even one of them who believes anything other than that Dublin will win comprehensively this afternoon. And certainly all the indications are that they will do just that. After all, in last year's championship, they soundly trounced Wexford. And over the past decade, Dublin have appeared in each and every Leinster final, bar one. In sharp contrast, you have to go back 40 years since Wexford last won a Leinster title. However, last Sunday, Wexford did beat Kerry. And already this year in the National League, they've defeated Dublin. And for those two reasons, Wexford fans have plenty of reason for optimism.
The largest crowd in living memory at a football game in Wexford turned up for what was a splendidly organised occasion. The traffic restrictions in the vicinity of the ground worked well. The stewarding too was